Wonderful day. I'm actually talking about things that parents should not do in front of their children. This reflection comes out from a very simple point of view. Let me say that it comes from a perspective whereby many times parents or married people or couples forget that children are always in the middle of things that happen within their family, and we forget that we are actually we actually play a very vital role on how our children turn out. And many times our children don't really listen to what we say, they actually observe what we do. So I'm talking about things that as a parent you should never do in front of your child, or your child should never see you do. Because when it comes to parenting, and I always say this, I know that parenting is not easy. But remember this, that children have a sponge-like capability. They absorb not only words, they absorb actions, they absorb emotions. So when children are in your life, there are things that you just have to be conscious about. That even though you're battling your own weaknesses, because I have never said that a parent has to be perfect, but even as I'm battling some weaknesses, I must be aware that there is a sponge next to me and it's picking out every single thing that I do. Number one thing that you should never do in front of your child, it is undressing or changing your clothes in front of them. Undressing or changing your clothes in front of them. This is a common mistake made repeatedly by very many parents, thinking that the child is too young to understand, so you're busy changing in front of your child, you're busy undressing in front of the child. Mtoto amekaa pale, umempea chupa anakunywa kamaziwa, and you're busy changing there, you know. Or at times even you find even bigger children. I've found some in some families where a 5-year-old boy, a 6-year-old boy is in the room when the mom is changing, you know. That is madness. Because if they can identify your face, if a child can identify your face and distinguish you from a stranger, meaning that if a stranger comes to carry your child can know, this is not my parent, this is my parent. Then my dear friend, understand this, they are aware of what they are seeing. Now this mistake inhibits your child's ability to have responsible and reasonable boundaries, because we are changing or undressing in front of them. Number two, this is a problem in 2021 families. Watching movies with sexual content in front of your children. Watching movies with sexual content in front of your children. Now, this is where, again, we push it too far. I'm not necessarily talking about pornography. No. I'm talking about movies where we watch, where they are very, 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 I'm trying to get the right word. Let's call it, it's like mild pornography. You know, you watch a movie where people are very sexual in that movie. People want to, they are making love in front of the screen. They are showing, maybe they are touching each other in funny ways. And you find that a mother and a daughter are sitting watching this movie. You find a father and a son and a daughter watching this movie. You find a mother, a father, a mother and children watching a movie where there is these people who are fallen in love, and now they are kissing and now they are making out, and they're watching it with their children. Now, let us be very, very serious, because watching such movies with your children eliminates your moral authority in teaching them about sexual values. It eliminates your moral authority to teach them about sexual values. You can't be watching with your children soap operas where people are busy kissing and cheating and kissing and cheating. Then tomorrow when she tells you, Mama, I have a boyfriend, unaanza kasirika, hautaleta mwanaume kwa hii nyumba. No, you lost moral authority a long time ago. Number three, when you use curse words or insults in their presence. Curse words generally are these words we use or we hear people talking about that are vulgar in nature. Zile zinaanzanga na letter F, zinaanza na letter S, hizo. We say them in front of our children every so often. As you're driving with your child to work, and your 13-year-old son, hears you cursing the guy in front of you. You're hitting the horn and you're throwing insults, you're speaking words that in truth you can't even say in front of anyone else. I don't know why a human being must use such language to communicate. That is a mystery. But doing this in front of a child is even worse, because you plant a disrespectful spirit and an unruly character in them. Inamaanisha, even as a husband and a wife, When you're having a conflict, when you're having an issue, the two of you, you don't use profanity, you don't use bad words, because you're teaching your children how to be disrespectful. And one day they will turn and they'll tell you the exact thing. Number 4, my personal favorite. Whenever I teach this, I always get a riot wherever I am. Getting drunk in front of your children, or your children finding you drunk. This is a very simple thing. When your child sees you drunk, they lose respect for you on the spot. He respect hyposponiwi. You lose it today. They question your authority as a parent because they have seen you lose control. And whenever I teach my parenting classes, I always say this, but as a parent, you should never lose control. Now, the problem is that I was at a place and this father told me, according to our culture, we are the ones who teach our children how to drink. And I asked him, so you teach them how to get drunk also? Because it's a very different thing when your two sons are picking you from a ditch. When your children wake up in the morning and find you blackout qua stairs. When you come home, you are drunk, you start talking about things that can't even be said. Umeka sitting room, you are talking because you are drunk. My dear friend, I always say this, if you want to get drunk, sleep where you are. Tell your spouse, pahali niko nimelemewa, wacha nilale huku, hata huku staribu. And good luck if you're able to come back the next day. Number 5, introducing your children to the person you're having an affair with. Sasa hii ni bangi ya hali ya juu. One of the most irresponsible and selfish things you can do as a parent is to introduce your child to your mistress, or to introduce your child to your boyfriend. You are introducing them to the person who is breaking their family. Your child knows that this is the woman who is taking away my mom's place. Or your daughter knows this is the man who is taking away my dad's place. And you're being irresponsible. You want to take them out. So you have your daughter, you have your son. Then uko na mpango wa kando hapo. Mpango wa kando wako pale buying your children ice cream, trying to bribe them. And you're there, telling your children how these things happen. The most irresponsible thing is this. If you're having an affair, your children should never know about it. And I have to say this, even when our children go to our phones and they find us flirting with other men or other women. Your child goes through your phone and you're telling another man or another woman what you want to do to them. And it's not prayer. See, in this particular context, what happens to us? Our children understand this. They begin to understand that you are the one who is taking away their dream. This will always leave a scar in their heart. All the adults I have seen who are the ones who are in the middle of their parents' affairs are broken individuals. Number 6, fighting physically their mother or their father in front of them. Kama you decide to be Bruce Lee and Jet Li as parents, it is okay. Piganeni and aboreta mupigane and finish. Come back home. But as parents, the last thing a child wants to see is his or her parents fighting, because this leaves a lasting effect on them, and they get broken for life, and may potentially will break their own families because they saw you break them. And number 7, before I go on this very quick break, is failing to teach them to knock before they enter the master bedroom. Failing to teach them to knock before they enter the master bedroom. The master bedroom is not a public toilet. And they must understand that where their parents sleep is not a room they enter randomly. If you don't teach them to knock before they enter the master bedroom, you will never teach them to respect boundaries throughout their life. Throughout their life, people will violate their boundaries and they'll violate other people's boundaries. Children must know how to knock before they enter the master bedroom. That is not a public toilet. It's a sacred place for a husband and a wife. It is the one place that cannot be defiled in the entire house. And it's the one room that ought to be respected the most in the house. Dear listener, after this short break, I will give you the remaining points. Stay tuned. 3 FM, Waumini Soul Food. I'm Victor Salamba, dear listener. Talking about things you should never do in front of your child or children. Things you should never do in front of your child or your children. As always, this will be available on my Facebook page, Victor Salamba, during the course of the day. You can go there, you can be able to get it. And also, if you want to get it via WhatsApp as well, you can still be able to get it also. Number 8 is branding your children. Branding your children. This means that you give your children names and you are angry that they manifest those names. And this is a very common issue with very many parents. Calling your child stupid, calling your child hopeless, calling your child lazy, calling your child a prostitute, calling your child what? We call them all sorts of names. There's a reason why parents are the ones who name their children. And their children respond to these names throughout their lives. So it's important that anything you call your child as a parent, remember, what you call them, they become. What you call them, they become. Correct them, but don't brand them. If your child has done something that is lazy, tell your child, this action you have done is a lazy action. Don't tell your child you are a lazy person. Tell them you have done something lazy. The way you behaved here, this is laziness. You're not a lazy child. This is laziness. Don't tell your child you are lazy. No. If your child has failed the exams and your child you performed poorly, this is not good results for you. Don't tell your child wewe ni mjinga. The moment you begin to brand them, tell your daughter you have dressed like a prostitute. Huh? You begin to call them names. Dear listener, branding our children is a disaster. You cannot brand your children. Number 9, dear listener, is taking the side of a stranger or the house help in their presence. What do I mean by this? I mean that this doesn't mean that you protect them when they are wrong. When your children are wrong, they are wrong. But I mean that if someone has brought an allegation over your children, if it is a house help, if it is anyone, then you reprimand them in private. If they come from the house and say that, oh, your child today did 1, 2, 3, 4, you call your child aside, go to the room, talk to them, because I assume you know them, talk to them and address the issue in private. Because at times there are malicious people who will lie that your child did something and you punish your child based on a lie. And here, my dear friend, you have lost your child for life. So it is important to know that ukiambiwa alifanya 1, 2, 3, investigate, then reprimand. I'm not saying protect them if they make a mistake. A mistake is a mistake. What I'm saying is that don't fail to pick their sides, because at that point you have not done your due diligence. Number 10. Leaning on your children emotionally. Leaning on your children emotionally. No parent should seek emotional support from a child. If your marriage is bad, go look for a marriage counselor, look for a relationship coach, go for prayers, go wherever you will go, call your girlfriends, call the boys, whatever you do. But the last thing you can do is lean on your children. Get help externally. As far as your children are concerned, you have to show up. Children should never hear or see you looking for emotional support from them. If you're not happy with your life, get help. You're not happy with your marriage, get help. Don't start sitting with your children. You know, marriage is difficult. Like now, married to your mother or married to your father, you don't tell your children that. Dear listener, there you're going to lose it. So it's important to know that children don't have the capacity to be able to hold you emotionally. If you're unstable, get help. Number 11. This one, if you don't hear anything I say, listen to this. When you have sex while your children are in the room. Now I'm saying this because these are cases I deal with every other week in my office. And this ties to number 1 above, where I talked about that you cannot change or undress your children in the room. Don't assume that your children are asleep, but your 7-year-old son is sleeping in your bedroom and you want to have sex. You must be drunk. And what you're drinking is very cheap. Because, and I see parents make this, and that's why I've always said that children can never, I believe, and I say this continuously, even for the sake of their own structural development and their own structural growth as human beings, it's important they learn independence early. Part of learning independence early is they leave your bedroom early. There's no business a 2-year-old is sleeping in your bedroom. That does not make sense. You're creating an emotionally, you're creating a child who's emotionally too dependent on you. Now the mistake again is this. You have a 3-year-old in the bedroom and you want to have sex. Why do you want to do that? Your children should never be in the same room where you're having sex. That should never happen. This is why, again, I insist, it's important that when children finish their mandatory 6 months when they are being breastfed, you can give them a bonus another 6 months. But no more than a year should a child be in the master bedroom. After 1 year, the child should be able to soothe themselves to sleep. They should be able to actually, they should actually be able to sleep by themselves, because you have taught them to be independent. And they learn that early. The problem is you keep our children until 9 years. After my son is afraid to sleep alone. If at 9 he can't sleep alone, then at 19 what will happen? He'll sleep with the entire village. So it's important to understand that I need to protect my children from this. And lastly, making a promise you cannot keep has happened at Nashikiwa. When a parent becomes what I call a promissory note, telling your children you'll do something and you never do. It doesn't matter how big or small. Never make a promise you cannot keep. This teaches a child that in life you can get by saying lies, by not being accountable, and lastly, they'll never trust you. Never make a promise you can't keep. If you don't think you'll buy your son a shoe, don't tell him I'll buy you a shoe. Usimwambie kuwa number 1, I'll buy you a PS. No. If you know you won't buy the PS, keep quiet. Don't tell them next year on your birthday, I'll take you to Dubai. Lakini this year, vumilia tu kula keki. No. If you know very well next year in Dubai, nyamaza. Because when we make promises to our children we can't keep, and we don't even apologize for it, we teach them that in life, dear listener, you can get by not being accountable. Therefore, they will not be accountable. These are small 12 things that every parent should avoid to do in front of their children. The action will be available on my Facebook page, Victor Salamba, during the course of the day.